I should probably preface this review by saying that I have never actually played the game this anime is based on. Okay, technically that's not true, as I have played about 10 or so minutes of what I think was the expansion from SiN Gold. It didn't really work compatibility-wise in my PC, so I installed it after that. You may be asking why I bring that up, but I tell you this so you know I don't really have any previous connection to the SiN series. All I do know is that most internet critics seem to hate this OVA, calling it pure garbage, and while fans are entitled to dislike it if it disrespects the source material, on its own, it's a completely harmless bit of anime schlock. SiN the movie is exactly what you would expect from a 60-minute anime OVA from the early thousands. There's plenty of overly simple yet confusing plot elements, tons of TNA, and naturally plenty of graphic carnage on display. Thankfully, however, outside of a few lines and things sprinkled in, the film mostly keeps away from being a pretentious mess and just allows itself to be a dumb science fiction action movie. I have no clue if the movie story is canon to the games, or when this would be set during the game, or if it's just a standalone sort of thing, but after a friend of John Blade and a huge John Carmack reference by the name of JC is killed due to being taken over by a biological threat, our heroes must set off to put a stop to SiNTech and Alexis Sinclair's evil plans for world domination. Due to this chain of events, Blade is introduced to JC's sister, also named JC, a young girl who is believed to be an angel, and a winding conspiratorial plot that threatens all of humanity. There isn't really any twists or turns that come out of the blue, and if you've seen any sci-fi anime from the 90s or early thousands with god-crazed scientists and similar looking mutant bad guys, you've practically seen SiN. If the movie was any longer than the barely 60-minute runtime that it is, I could definitely see anyone watching it growing tired or bored, but with the tight pacing and the fact that there is plenty of brutal deaths and action, your attention should be kept. Although, anyone who doesn't care much for generic, cliche-riddled anime should probably avoid this, as you most likely will just grow annoyed with how safe the film is played. While brief and naturally speeding along, there are a few nice moments of character interaction that I was pleased to see. They were short-lived and not shown all that often, but seeing at least a little growth or emotion displayed from Blade and others was nice, considering the type of film this is. Outside of that, however, I can't truly say that any of the characters are memorable or people I truly grew attached to. Blade was your typical muscle-bound tough guy that was basically a cybernetic Vin Diesel. He was cool, but outside of the scene where he comforts Elise, there wasn't much to him. The other characters on Blade's side were either extremely one-note, like the forgettable Kate Palmer, to completely expandable, like Tim Perko. Outside of Blade himself, JC's sister, who was actually relevant to the plot, and Alexis Sinclair, who was the main antagonist, I couldn't even remember any of the other characters' names, having to look them up to write this review, and this was genuinely only 5 minutes after finishing the movie. They were that forgettable. There were a few other characters here and there, like a mob boss who was friends with Blade's father, who is an ally to Blade, Alexis's crony by the name of Vinny, the doctor helping Blade find a cure-like stop for the mutations, and the young girl by the name of Elise, but again, they were just there to fill their roles in the story. In terms of action, what we get is actually well-paced, fun to watch, and over the top, but I would be lying if I said I didn't want at least another action scene or two added in. If I had to choose a favorite action scene, both visually and in terms of what's happening, it would have to be the scene happening opposite to the Terminator-like police station raid. Visually, the film has that enjoyable cheap anime quality to most of it. However, there are some scenes that are just incredibly lazy and made me grimace with disappointment that they hadn't just put in a bit more care to the final product. I liked all the designs of the characters and feel that the blocky Quake character designs of the game fit right at home being turned into anime characters, and the new characters introduced for the OVA also look like they belong right next to the characters from the game. I was surprised at how conservative the nudity was, because this is an anime OVA that could have gone all out to please the fanboys, as I have heard that the game is particularly racy, but here there was just mostly hints of TNA and not much more. It was still there, however, like you would expect it would be, it just wasn't as gratuitous as some of the other anime films of this time. There was some CGI, and it was mixed, some looking alright, and other moments looking exactly how most CGI looks in anime, which is bad. The final boss creature of sorts had a really unnerving, uncanny feeling to it in how it was animated, and I really liked it. I also really liked that the mutant designs were each fairly unique and quite creepy looking. The voice work all around was passable. It's not that all of it was bad, it's just that a lot of the line reads didn't sound very good either. However, I was pleasantly surprised by the fact that there were some genuinely well-read lines thrown into the mix of questionable voice acting. Also surprising, or I suppose not, due to this being both an ADV film and an early thousands OVA, but there were some well-known voices on display for certain characters. Also, as far as I could find, no, the game's voice acting directors didn't return for the movie. With all that said, SiN the movie can be looked at in one of two ways. Either you'll enjoy it as a schlocky, dumb action movie that you can enjoy on a lazy Saturday afternoon, or you're going to dislike it because it kills off JC from the game and might have changed other elements from a game you enjoy. I totally get not enjoying the film based on that, but if you're like me who has never really played the game or just enjoy an alright hour killer, this is definitely going to be something you should check into. Am I recommending you go and search out the DVD copy of it? Certainly not. But as far as I know, the entire thing is on YouTube, so if you've been debating whether or not to give it a watch or just want something new to check out for a quick watch, just know that there are worse things you could do with your time. As always, if you want to help support the channel, please consider sharing the video with a friend or checking out my Patreon linked in the description below. If you have any comments, questions, or recommendations, leave them down below as I read and reply to everything. Until next time, this is Thierry Williamson signing off until the next video. See ya, guys!